Hello, everyone. Welcome live to 3 Wide TV. Tonight's broadcast of Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday night Throwback Cup Series. And we are going left and right here tonight, Watkins Glen. And I'm Peter Short, and joining me in the booth here tonight is Greg Rentz. And Greg, great to be at a road course, a little bit different than what we've seen so far in this Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday night Throwback Cup Series, because every racetrack we've been to so far has been ovals.
Yeah, a unique one to the schedule here this weekend, Peter. We got drivers going left and right. Qualifying is underway, and they are turning left and right, looking to try to get that spot because it's a short one for racing standards here, Peter. 41 laps, the scheduled distance tonight. So that's going to go pretty quickly. And I just noticed we have a surprise has joined the field. Series president Jim Foose just entered the race and is out there qualifying right now.
Yeah, that's pretty cool to see that number 42 machine. It's a good-looking Hacksaw PC's ride. You see it right there on your screen. Got a little bit of that Kyle Petty vibe there. But another thing that's a little bit different that we're seeing here tonight is the fact that it's open qualifying. We have a 10-minute qualifying session. All these drivers will be working to put their fastest lap in over these 10 minutes. And Jim Foose there in the number 42 machine, a little bit of a lockup down into turn number 1. But another thing we need to talk about, Greg, here tonight is just how difficult these cars are to drive around this racetrack because they don't have a dog box for their gearbox.
Absolutely, Peter. These things, we've seen just how difficult they are to drive at other tracks throughout the series so far this year. We're on board with Clarence Bonner in the number 99, but we've seen just how difficult these cars are to drive at ovals. It's got to be tenfold on the road course here as we are qualifying. This is, I believe, the only time we're going to be on a road course this season with the Throwback Series. So it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers adapt to it. But, Peter, we also are racing with a very heavy heart tonight.
Yes, absolutely. We got news recently that Bryce Whitson, a former series champion here in the American Sim Racing Series, he passed away. And so we are definitely racing with a heavy heart. And you will see the down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, we have In Loving Memory of Bryce Whitson. And you see that little graphic down there. And we're trying to pull up a little bit about just who he was as a racer here in this series. I mean, you can see right there on your screen, 2013 B-Car Series champion, 2014, you basically locked up all the championships here in the American Sim Racing Series in 2014 and had 20 career wins in this series. And from what I've heard from league organizer Jim Foose, those numbers right there on your screen just don't do any justice for who he was as a person. He was not only a sim racer, he was also the aerodynamicist for Hendrick Motorsports. He was actively involved not only in the aerodynamics community, had journals, released papers. Very impressive man. And a lot of the drivers here, not only us up here in the booth, but all these drivers who knew him as a person are racing with heavy hearts, and they will for quite some time because he had a very strong hand in making what this series is today. And it is very much unfortunate that he passed away. And on lap number 24 here tonight, because of his affiliation with Hendrick Motorsports, we're going to have a lap of silence in memoriam for Bryce Whitson. So we'll definitely keep that in mind here tonight as this race goes on. But Greg, definitely tough to see someone who has been so influential to the league pass away.
Absolutely, a very, very key contributor to the history of the ASRS. And like you mentioned, getting it where it is today. So tonight is definitely in memory of Mr. Whitson as we get set to put on a show the way that he would want us to, going left and right here at Watkins Glen tonight, is for him.
Yeah, and of course, next Tuesday night, we do have a little bit of a throwback race in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. It's round number 1 of the playoffs. 12 drivers made the playoffs this past Tuesday night. If you missed that race, you missed an absolute crazy finish at Daytona. And because it's a throwback race, Greg, I'm wondering just how many Bryce Whitson throwbacks we might see at Darlington. I know some of the drivers, they've been in the league for quite some time. I mean, the American Sim Racing Series, one of the coolest things about this series versus a lot of other iRacing series is the fact that it has such a history. It goes all the way back to the NR 2003 days into the early 2000s. This league is getting close to its 20th year in operation, and a lot of those drivers have been around this series for quite some time, did know Bryce Whitson, so I do expect to see a couple of Bryce Whitson throwbacks. The rule is essentially open when it comes to throwbacks. There's no, some people do that. You have to do a car from the 1980s or a car from the 1990s. No, the throwback series here in the American Sim Racing Series is open to any era. Basically, as long as there's a story to why you chose a throwback car, it's legal. So I think we're going to see that next week, and I think that'll be a fantastic way to honor Bryce Whitson. But we do have a race on hand here tonight. Like you said, I'm sure Bryce would very much love to have been out here on the racetrack with these drivers, and he was involved in the ASRS community for quite some time. Even over the past year and a half that I've been involved, I saw him post. He had the Never Quit 250, the hashtag Never Quit 250, which was a race that he put on to gain a little bit of money to help pay for his finances while he went through what he went through. So he was involved. He was involved in the racing community more than just the American Sim Racing Series. But we do have this race on hand here tonight. And Greg, currently the number 11 machine, Tyler Seville, fastest so far here in this qualifying session.
He's got 2 wins in the Hacksaw PC's Cup Series, Peter, and is still looking for that first here in the Throwback Series. But he has been among the most consistent in this series. And remember, his team, Will Worcester Racing, has won the last 2 throwback races. Will Worcester with the win at Pocono about a month ago, and then the last time this series was in action at Atlanta a couple weeks ago, it was Doug Mullins getting not just the win for his first throwback win, that was his first ASRS sanctioned victory in the number 18. But the car we're looking at right now is one of our favorites to look at, just because of how unique it is with the Ford Lumina that we've come to call it. That's Larry Orn in the 231. But what we saw there, Peter, going down the backstretch, something unique here to this one. We're on the old school Watkins Glen layout here tonight. No bus stop chicane tonight. We're doing it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, and one of my favorite things about this is that there is 7 turns. And there's actually 7 turns. NASCAR likes to omit the bus stop from the corner count for some odd, strange reason. So this racetrack doesn't have to deal with that corner that's not a corner per NASCAR. So we have 7 turns here around this racetrack, and you see this man right here, the number 26 of Lee Staples, step tire on the hood of that race machine. He's working his way around the carousel, working his way now up towards turn number 6, and then it will be turn number 7 before the start-finish line. Let's see if we can go on board with this number 26 machine. Not quite sure if we'll make it a lap around or not. You see just how much body roll these 1987 machines have. You really have to watch out for them on a road course. Might have got a little bit sideways coming out of turn number 7 here down the front stretch, but there's so much body roll to these cars, Greg. I've driven them on a road course before. They're very tricky. You have to be very careful with the way these cars get into the corner. There's a lot of grip on these tires, believe it or not. But due to the body roll and the way the suspension travel is set up, you have to keep all 4 tires on the ground to be fast. You have to be very smooth. You have to be very methodical about backing up your corners, using the engine braking with downshifting. And all in all, it makes for a very, very difficult car to drive on a road course. So we're going to see what driver is the most skilled here tonight for sure with these 1987 cars. So you see the 26 of Staples work his way out of the carousel. So far, a very smooth lap from this number 26 machine as he comes into turn number 6 and 7. You see the checkered flag is out, but these drivers will be able to complete their lap if they're on a timed lap. That's something you don't see when we have the closed qualifying session, but with these open qualifying sessions, you do get that little bit extra time to put in a lap after the checkered flag comes out. And now Lee Staples will try and better his lap time as he's so far down in 11th. Looks like that is where he will stay. No, he jumps up into the top 10. So good job there by Staples, picking it up right at the very end. Jim Foose down in the number 42 machine. He didn't really get much practice time in that machine. So great to see him out there on the racetrack, get a lap time in. I'm sure he's just glad to get around this racetrack with such little practice. And Greg, with these 87 cars and how difficult they are to drive, I'm impressed that Jim Foose not only got out there on the racetrack, he did put a lap time in. You see he's a little bit off, but just to wheel these things around a racetrack is very difficult.
Definitely, Peter. We saw going on board there with Lee Staples just how difficult these cars are to wheel around a road course. And I got to give him props for jumping in on very short notice here as he came in right about the time that qualifying was starting is when he joined the field. And to go out and lay down a lap that quickly was very impressive. We'll see how it goes because he's now going to have 41 laps to put it together. But Peter, if anyone can do it, it's Jim Foose. Remember, he is the all-time winningest driver in ASRS competition history. He is the only driver to win over 100 races in this series competition.
Yeah, that goes back to that long history that we were talking about just a little while ago. Got to give a huge shout out to some of the people that we have in the chat here tonight. We do have Aunt Kathy saying, hello, boys, and good luck to the Will Warser Racing team. We got Nikki Warser also rooting on the Will Warser Racing machine. We also got Eric Jr. Racing saying, go get him, guys. I was running here this week in the official lobbies. What an amazing combo. And I'll tell you what, this racetrack, with this car is an amazing combo. So fast. They liken Watkins Glen to the super speedway of road courses with how fast it is. And we will see that, especially down that long backstretch without the bus stop tonight. Eric Jr. Racing also saying tire fall off plays a huge factor here. It comes down to who can keep their lap times as consistently low as possible. And those long straightaways into tight turns can kill the tires if done wrong. We also have Jim Foose saying, our hearts are heavy today as we've lost a great friend, great competitor, and a great man this week. We will go on. The races will go on. But we will always remember Bryce. #never quit. So if you want to get involved and have your own memories of Bryce, definitely reach out on Facebook. Use the #never quit. #never quit on Twitter. Definitely a great man and great part of this series. Also, I'll tell you what. We do have a fairly long race here tonight, 41 laps. But Greg, why don't you take us through the starting lineup?
I will do that. Getting the pole, the only driver to go a minute 12, and a lot of drivers saying they think he's got something for the race. Tyler Seville in the number 11. 2 wins on the year in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Looking for that first throwback win. He starts alongside a guy who has been very impressive in this series. That's the points leader, the 202, Stephen Hollingsworth. Pocono winner Will Worsler will roll off to the inside of row number 2 in a new look number 29 with Larry Orn in the 231 to his outside. Doug Mullins, winner last time out at Atlanta, making up the inside of row number 5 with Jason Stewart to his outside. Remember, they're a road course. Inside and outside are switched here at Watkins Glen. Sam Maxwell in the number 98, very impressive comeback in Atlanta last week. He rolls off 7th with Clarence Bonner in 8th. Rounding out the top 10 are Ed Bray and Lee Staples. However, Ed Bray having some connection issues right before the grid, so not making the grid. We'll see if we can get Ed Bray back in. No doubt he wants to give Boswell's Country Roads a ride, but Lee Staples will roll off 10th. Tim Knott and Jim Foose make up row number 6. Rounding out the field is Brad Lee, and Brad Lee kind of slow to get going. He just now left the front stretch, so he's got to catch up to the likes of Foose and Knott to catch up. There is Brad Lee, who always runs a throwback, Peter. He runs that Jason Leffler inspired number 01 throwback, and you see him going off there at full speed trying to catch up to the field. So 13 cars here tonight, 12 making the grid as Ed Bray had those connection issues We hope to get him back in before this race starts, but definitely not what Ed Bray wanted in the number 66 as they come down the long backstretch. And it's going to take some getting used to, Peter. We talked about it a moment ago, but they're not going to be hanging that little right here. They are going to be going straight, which is something we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, definitely going to be really cool. These cars are going to be hauling the mail down that backstretch off into turn number 5, which is this long carousel, this right-hander which falls away from the drivers as you head down the hill onto the third straightaway of the racetrack. And one of the things that makes Watkins Glen so much fun is just the passing opportunities. You have 3 long straightaways down into turn number 1, into turn number 5, and then into turn number 6. So 3 huge opportunities to make a move under braking off into the corners, and I'm sure we'll see plenty of passes here tonight around this racetrack. I'll tell you what, the pace truck going to dive down pit road here shortly, and we're going to be green flag here in just 1 corner from now, Greg.
Here we go through the final turn, turn 7. Field going to be in the hands of Tyler Seville, still looking for that first Throwback Series victory. He's got the points here to his outside. Barney gives him the green. We're racing him.
And down into turn number 1 they go, hard on the brakes. You got to watch out for a little bit of wheel hop. That's going to be another thing we're going to keep our eyes on here tonight. No drivers locking them up down into turn number 1. That's a good sign, but here comes Stephen Hollingsworth in the 202 Folgers machine. He's right behind that number 11 of Seville as they work their way up through the S's for the first time here tonight. It is still Seville over Hollingsworth. Seville gets a little bit sideways coming up over the crest at the top of the hill. That might open up the door for that 202 machine. Here comes Hollingsworth, ducking his nose to the inside off into turn number 5.
And the long back straightaway into the swooping carousel here. Hollingsworth has the preferred lane through. He's going to get the nose in front, but a little bit of a slide out of the 202. He is going to clear Seville. No, he's not. Back comes Tyler Seville. Great run on the exit of the carousel there by Tyler Seville. He's going to clear him back for the lead. A lot of people pointing to Seville as the favorite for this race after the qualifying lap he laid down. Having a good dogfight here in the early stages with the 202 of Hollingsworth. Will Horsler hanging back there, just waiting it out and seeing what happens. You got Doug Mullins there. 3 winners on the season. 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Hollingsworth, Horsler, and Mullins. But it's Seville leading lap 1.
Yeah, and one thing in the first half of the season, so tonight actually marks the halfway mark of the 2020 Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. We have yet to see a repeat winner in this series this year. And could we make that 6 races in a row here tonight? Like you mentioned, 2nd through 4th have already got 1 win to their name. However, the man leading right now in that green and black slice pizza bar number 11 machine has yet to get to victory lane. Hollingsworth once again showing his nose off into turn number 5. He thinks a little bit better of it, a little bit too late perhaps to make a lunge there in that Folgers machine as they work through turn number 5. Seville got a great drive out of that corner, pulled a couple of car lengths on that number 202 machine as they go here now down the backstretch off into turn number 6.
Hollingsworth in 2nd, won at Charlotte. Will Horsler won at Pocono. Mullins, the most recent winner in this series at Atlanta, not in the field tonight. Inaugural winner Alan Young picked up the win at Wilkesboro, and Brian Yozik, the not in the field. We got problems in the back of the field.
We have problems in the back of the field. The number 26 machine and the 01 have had it coming together off into turn number 6. It was in one of the braking zones. You saw a little bit of contact there between Tim Knott and Lee Staples coming out of turn number 5, but watch this contact. I think the 01 machine might have just gotten on the binders a little bit too late into the back bumper of the number 26, and Lee Staples hard into that wall right there through that sand trap. And I'll tell you one thing about these sand traps in the iRacing simulator, they don't simulate sand traps very well. So when you get in those sand traps, it's almost like you gain speed. You don't seem to slow down at all. And unfortunately for Lee Staples in the StepTire.com machine, he definitely has quite a bit of damage on that race car right now. Here we go, replay. Oh, the number 99 of Bonner going up into those walls. And just like that, that number 99 machine's night is done. he will take that number 99 machine to the garage, and that is a tough break. So we do have the first retirement here tonight. And Jim Foose in the number 42 machine, he's now up inside the top 10 as you go on board with that number 99 machine. Very easy to do, just losing it up through the S's.
And he has brought the number 99 behind the wall, done for the day. So he's the first retiree of the race, as Ed Bray has not yet made it back in. I have to assume he's not going to make it out, but that's a tough one there. We are now down to 11 cars on the track. Jim Foose, of course, we talked about him a moment ago. First start of the season here, first throwback series start for Jim Foose. And again, he's the all-time winningest driver in ASRS competition, but he is really taking a step back from the driver's seat, focusing on admin duties of the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. And until tonight, he was doing the same thing for the Thursday night series, but electing to run tonight in memory of Bryce and having a pretty solid run as he's now up to 8th as he's gotten around Tim Knott in the number 41. So who's trying to come back here, but work to do now as he's about 10 seconds behind next in line Jason Stewart. Up front is still Tyler Seville. As there you see Foose and Knott making their way down, number 42 and number 41. And checking in now, that's Sam Maxwell, probably teammate, I would say, of Foose in the number 98, as he rides in 6th position, checking back in with the leader, Tyler Seville.
Yeah, right up at the front, it's close once again. Here comes the 202 of Hollingsworth all over the back bumper of that number 11 machine as they dive off into turn number 1. Both of their drivers hitting their apexes. Hollingsworth got a little bit more of the curb, and really you can take a lot of curb on entry into turn number 1 here. It can almost help the car turn. You saw Hollingsworth close up to the back bumper of the number 11 machine as they work their way up through the S's now. Seville just ever so slightly pulling away.
Seville's done a nice job every time Hollingsworth puts the pressure on Seville, keeping his cool, just focusing on running his line, not worried about what the 202 is doing, and that's very good to do, Peter, in the early stages, because here at a road course, you make one mistake, it takes you a long time to recover. So Seville doing a nice job, not making any mistakes, not letting the 202 of Hollingsworth psych him out, doing a nice job just running his race and trying to rally him off. Meanwhile, behind them, his two teammates, Will Worsler and Doug Mullins, they're beginning to slice and dice for the 3rd position. Big slide out of Will Worsler there in turn number 6. That allows Mullins to come up here for the 3rd position to challenge. One win each for these two on screen.
Yeah, and that wasn't the only slide from Will Worsler. He had a huge slide coming out of turn number 5 as well. Might have overheated those rear tires just a little bit. He'll have to woe it down just a little bit to cool them back off, but I think that huge slide out of turn number 5 led to the huge slide in turn number 6. These tires are very finicky. These are not new tires, as back up at the front, Hollingsworth has a huge wiggle as he goes over the crest at the top of turn number 3. Now trying to work his way up into turn number 5 here at the end of this long straightaway. But Hollingsworth was all over the back bumper. The number 11 machine caught a little bit too much curb. Uh-oh, Seville locked him up going off into turn number 5. He goes way off the racetrack. Hollingsworth also going off the racetrack. Seville now going to slide back into the 2nd position. And for the first time tonight, we've had a lead change.
Fortunately for Seville, he was able to minimize the damage done. Let's see what happened here. If you look at the suspension cam of the number 11, I think he just locks him up going off into turn number 5. Just like that, Seville in 2nd. However, with Hollingsworth also making a little bit of a mistake, he has not lost a whole lot of ground. In fact, he's still putting pressure on. We take one more look. Going into turn number 5, just locks him up and just goes for the ride. Fortunately for him, Hollingsworth made the same mistake, just not as bad. But if we check back in live, it's not exactly a big loss for Seville, as he is still very much within striking distance. What this has done is allowed Will Worsler to join the fray as well in the number 29.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it just one little mistake like that, and you're going to lose quite a bit of time with these 87 cars, because these are very unforgiving race cars, Greg. With the modern day cup cars, with all the downforce they have, the modern brakes, the modern tires, they're pretty forgiving. If you get them out of line just a little bit, you're going to miss your apex for sure. But I'm amazed that Seville was able to get that thing woed up in time as he slid off the racetrack and had a little bit of a mistake there as well, dipping the left front tire coming out of the grass and carousel, and that will open the door for Will Warser going off into turn number 6. So now the number 29 machine up into second, and your pole sitter, Tyler Seville, was looking oh so good a couple laps ago. Now he finds himself back in the last spot of the podium.
I wonder, Peter, if that slip up the lap before is in Tyler's head, and he was so focused on not making the same mistake again that he overthought it there, because it was the same exact spot. More problems for Lee Staples in the number 26. Taking a look at the 3-wide TV replay, let's see what happened with Staples. Just getting off the track there. That's off of turn number 4 and pinballing off the 2 guardrails. Not the day that Lee Staples wanted after going for a ride in the sand trap earlier, which is more like an ice rink here on iRacing. And then that, just not the day Lee Staples was looking for in the 26.
Yeah, now Lee Staples shooting down the backstretch, trying to make every bit of time he can back up. Meanwhile, back up at the front, the number 202 of Hollingsworth up to a 1.5 second lead over the number 29 machine of Will Warser. Now, the big question is going to be, what is the lap times going to be like over this run? Folks, we qualified at a 1 minute 13 or so. We're now down to, or up to, I should say, a 1 minute 16. So we are multiple seconds off the pace of where we were at the beginning of this race. And the race pace will continue to slow down. What I've noticed with these 1987 cars is they kind of plateau at a certain point, and usually it's about 3 to 4 seconds slower. And personally, from my experience with them on a road course, the car gets a little bit more drivable. Yes, you start to lose pace on the race car, but that springiness in the rear tires has a tendency to go away as you have to back up your corner. So it's a little bit easier to keep all 4 wheels on the ground just because you don't have enough grip to get a wheel in the air, so to speak. So in my opinion, they come more drivable, but they're definitely slower. So that is going to be something we're going to have to see if some of these drivers can adapt to that, because the car just behaves differently. Meanwhile, Will Warser, the number 29 machine, he has been overtaken by both of his teammates, Tyler Seville and the number 18 of Mullins. We'll have to see what happened here on the 3-wide TV replay. Did the 29 miss his apex on entry into the corner? Yes, he did. Locked up the right front. We saw that out of the number 11 machine, and Will tried to get down in front of the number 11 machine. Couldn't quite do it. And now Will Warser going to have to regroup and see if he can run that group of cars back down. But up at the front, that has given Hollingsworth quite a commanding lead here, now up to 3 seconds over the number 18 machine of Mullins, who was also able to get around Tyler Seville. So Mullins went from 4th to 2nd in that number 18 machine that you see right there. The winner last round out at Atlanta.
So what we're seeing now out of Hollingsworth is him being able to focus on running his race with everyone behind him making these little mistakes here and there. That's costing him time on the track. Hollingsworth has been able to keep it clean thus far, as he has been able to pull away from it. We're on board with 3rd place Tyler Seville, the early race leader, trying to track down his teammate Doug Mullins in the 18 Seville. Getting a run in now on Mullins, their car owner, Will Warser, right behind them. Will Warser racing 2-3-4 right now. And it's a long ways back, about another, how about 6 seconds to Larry Orn, rounding out the top 5 right now behind this. And he's in a battle right now, Peter. Sam Maxwell and Jason Stewart have caught up to Larry Orn. Orn went really wide there, so he kind of is under some pressure here from the 98 and the 1.
Yeah, we're seeing a fantastic battle, not only for the 2nd position, but like you said, the 5th position, currently held by Larry Orn, Sam Maxwell, and Jason Stewart, starting to close in just a little bit. And now we kind of have to talk about something a little bit different. We usually talk about, oh, who's the fastest on the racetrack. Well, it's not going to be that big of a difference of who's the fastest on the racetrack for a given lap. Like I said, these race cars are very unforgiving, so we're not perfect. Drivers do make mistakes. And what it comes down to is really a balancing game. Balancing your lap times. Your average lap times at this point in the run are going to be so critical. Right now, looking at average lap times, Hollingsworth is about a 10th faster than Hollingsworth over the last 5 laps. But then you start to look at that battle for the 5th position between Orn, Maxwell, and Stewart. Well, out of that group, Stewart over the last 5 laps has been about 0.2 of a second faster than Larry Orn. So, and Sam Maxwell is kind of in the middle of them. So that group for 5th is sandwiching together ever so slightly. So we definitely have some great racing out here on the racetrack. Meanwhile, that number 29 machine, Will Worcester, he's lost even more ground to the back of the number 11 of Seville. Now he finds himself about 5.5 seconds back behind the race leader. That is Stephen Hollingsworth. So Hollingsworth here doing a good job, Greg, of minimizing his mistakes, although Mullins was a couple tenths faster this last lap.
Yeah, Hollingsworth has done a nice job. And Peter, time and time again, we see that every week with the series. Hollingsworth always impresses us with just how he's able to minimize those mistakes and run very smooth. I think he is having a nice audition for perhaps competition in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series next year. Hollingsworth doing a fantastic job in this series. I think he may be able to apply for a Hacksaw PC's Premier Series license before too long, and we may see him make some noise in that series.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely been very, very quick here each and every week in that 202 machine. So we'll have to see how this race pans out. There's still a long way to go. 30 laps here around Watkins Glen. All it takes is a single mistake, a single lapse in judgment to end your night here, especially with the fact that we don't have the bus stop. Turn number 5 has shown that it has been quite treacherous here tonight already, with drivers locking up their tires. Let's see if we can bring up the current point standings here in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. And your current race leader, Stephen Hollingsworth, has 1 win to his name. That's why there's 1 checkered flag beside that name, and currently is your points leader coming into tonight over Will Worcester, Tyler Seville, Jason Stewart, Tim Knott, rounding out your top 5. And then you find Sam Maxwell, Ed Bray, Mullins, Whiting, and Brad Lee. Unfortunately, Whiting not in the race here tonight at all. Ed Bray also in the 66 machine. He did not start. Looks like possibly some connection issues on that number 66 machine, which is a huge shame because he is the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson sponsored machine in that 66. But we do have a battle side by side now for the 5th position between the 231 and the number 98. Sam Maxwell going off into turn number 5. Maxwell going to take that position, but Maxwell slides wide right on the center of turn number 5. He's able to cut back down in front of Larry Orn. So move the number 98 machine now up into the top 5. And now Orn has to start looking at the number 1 machine in his mirror as well, because that battle for the 5th position is really not over yet, because Orn could get a run. He could get back by the number 98 machine, and it could open the door for the number 1 machine of Stewart to make a move as well.
Yeah, pretty nice 3-car battle here. 2 Fords and a Chevy, or 2 Chevys and a Ford, depending on how you want to look at it. We'll go with the motor and the power plant for that one and go for 2 Fords and a Chevy here, as here comes that Ford Lumina. Seen it a couple times, Larry Orn. Nice move to get back around the 98 of Maxwell. Nice pass back for the 231, but just like that, Maxwell with a crossover.
Yeah, Maxwell here, as you see the replay, we're going to have to watch this replay a little bit longer because Maxwell hits the wall live. We'll have to see that one here. Everything's good. Everything's sorted out. But there was the initial pass off into turn number 1. But watch what happens here going up through the S's. The number 98 on the right side, Larry Orn on the left side. They switch back here where what is the preferred line for one corner is not the preferred line for the other. There's that number 98 machine smacking that wall. And that did open the door for the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart. But currently live, you see Maxwell able to hold on to that 6th position. Possibly a little bit of right side damage on that race car now after making contact with the guardrail. But one thing I'm sure Maxwell's very happy about, Greg, is that iRacing updated these 87 cars and prevented them from essentially bouncing off the wall like a spring, like what we saw in the first few races here in the Boswell Country Road Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. So Maxwell was able to scrape the wall, but he's going to be able to regroup and see if he can track down that number 231 machine again. But speaking of tracking down, Doug Mullins closed in just a little bit on that number 202 machine. It's now down to 1.7 seconds as they head down the long straightaway into turn number 5. The gap between the number 18 and the 11 and the 11 and the 29, well, those gaps are growing. Worser now finding himself 5 seconds behind Tyler Seville. Seville finding himself 2+ seconds behind the number 18 of Mullins. So we're really going to have to watch that number 18 machine, who's showing some fantastic mid-run pace here, Greg. As I say that, though, the 18 of Mullins ran wide. He's off in the grass. There he is, just running a little bit wide in turn number 6, and that goes back to that minimizing mistakes on a road course situation. And now he's going to have to regroup. And basically all the time he gained, he's going to have to regain here over the next couple laps.
He have to get it back here as he tries to reel it in. It just went from 2.4 to 3.1 seconds with that mistake. So the gap that he had closed in on Hollingsworth is suddenly all gone once again. And he's got his teammate Seville about a second behind him, lurking there in case something happens. But Peter, the more and more slipping and sliding these guys do, that's more and more wear and tear on those tires. How long do you have to go before you can come in and be like, okay, I need some tires and I need them now?
Well, I expect to only see a one-stop race here tonight. All these drivers, I expect to see them on pit road at the halfway mark. That is actually coming up in just a little bit. Now, the big question, Greg, is will we see 4-tire pit stops? I think the answer to that here on a road course is definitely yes, but we have seen on a few of the tracks we've been to, 2 tires actually working better than the 4 tires, and with this racetrack, very heavily dependent on the left side tires. Because it is a clockwise racetrack, you got turn number 1, which is a right-hander. You got turn number 5, which is a right-hander. Turn number 7 as well. I wonder if some of these drivers might think about gambling and only taking left side tires, because it takes 20+ seconds to get all 4 tires on these old 1987 cars.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if anyone tries to gamble with these tires. I don't think we're going to see anyone take a gamble unless it's like, well, I got nothing to lose, might as well take a shot at it. But as far as like running around top 5, or even in that battle for the top 5, which has simmered down quite a bit, I don't think we're going to see anyone take the gamble. Jason Stewart has lost 10 seconds to that battle here in between the 231 and 98. Remember, last time we checked in, he was right in there in the mix with them. He is now 10 seconds behind it, so something happened to the 1 car that we missed.
Yeah, I believe the answer was turn number 6, last lap. He ran wide, pretty much similar to what we saw the number 18 of Mullins do, but Stewart went off into the kitty litter, hit the ice kitty litter, so to speak, that you mentioned earlier, Greg, and that really shot that number 1 machine well off the racetrack, and so he's going to have to regroup. So that unfortunately calms down this battle for the 5th position just a little bit. Larry Orn's still holding on to that spot. That hasn't changed hands. Meanwhile, the battle for the 8th position starting to brew as well. Jim Fusen, the number 42 machine, trying to hold off the number 41 of Tim Knott. We go on board with the GM Goodwrench service plus number 41 of Tim Knott coming out of turn number 5 down into turn number 6 here. And these 2 drivers, I've been looking at their pace. Tim Knott has been lapping just a little bit faster than Jim Foose, but meanwhile, the number 29 machine of Will Worcester on pit road, Greg.
Here we go. Pit stops have begun. Will Worcester saying, you know what? It is time for tires, because he is on pit road. Saw him slipping and sliding around. There we see Jim Foose. He is under pressure from Tim Knott. This is for 8th position right now on track as they go off into turn number 1. 4 tires for the number 29 of Will Worcester. He will blend out in 9th position once it's all said and done.
And I think this is a decent call by Will Worcester. And I'll tell you why, Greg. Because these tires have a plateau. What Will Worcester can do is he can get out there on the racetrack, as we ride on board with him here. He can go out there, use those fresh tires to his advantage, try and make up as much time as possible. Now, the only thing is he has to contend with the 41 of Knott and the 42 of Foose. Knott's just going to let Will Worcester by on those fresh tires, but he's performing what we call the undercut in road course racing, because now he can go out there, run as many fast laps as he can, try and get up to the lead. And if he can get enough of a buffer to the 202 of Hollingsworth, not only will he take the lead, he will have time to kind of allow the 202 to catch him. But if the 202 catches him and the tires have already plateaued on both cars, then it gets into the situation where it makes it very difficult for the 202 to actually pass him. So we'll have to see how this strategy works out for the number 29 machine. Meanwhile, up at the front, I mentioned that Doug Mullins was closing in before he made that hiccup in turn number 6. Well, he's been closing in again, Greg, been eating into that lead, and now, like you can see it, the 202 gets loose. Around goes Hollingsworth right in front of the number 18 machine. Hollingsworth going to have to regroup. Hopefully he didn't stall that machine. Just clipped the grass. We saw that happen to Mullins just a little bit ago, but this time it spells disaster for the 202.
Just went off right there. Nice job by Mullins to get around that. Hollingsworth did get the car going and is immediately pulled on the pit road. So just like that, we talked about minimizing the mistakes. That's a big one right there.
Yeah, you see it right there. Just missed the apex, and great job by the number 18 of Mullins, like you said, to possibly put on the brakes, just check up, figure out what the 202 was doing. From that camera angle that we saw, it looked like the 18 of Mullins was just going to plow into the side of the 202 machine, but fantastic job by those two to stay off of one another, and Hollingsworth not to make matters any worse. You saw him right there on pit road. Meanwhile, Will Worcester on those fresh tires going to flash on by the 202 machine. Worcester now heading off into turn number 1. 4 tires on the 202 machine as we are now closing in on the halfway mark, Greg. It will be halfway, about a lap from now.
We are closing in on halfway. Doug Mullins leading the way now in the number 18, and he is going to come down pit road from the race lead. Tyler Seville going to stay out there another lap, so Seville will inherit the lead back as Mullins leads a lap. Seville now in the lead as Doug Mullins on pit road. We'll see if he goes with 4 fresh tires here. Seville, I think he is going to go probably this lap just to get another lap led, and then I think we'll see him on pit road next. Larry Orn is going to move into second place.
Yeah, Sam Maxwell also on pit road right now. Jason Stewart also coming down pit road. Lee Staples had a little bit of a hiccup coming out of turn number 5 this past lap. There you see the number 29 of Will Worcester closing in on him. There's the 202. You can see just how far the difference is between the number 29 and the 202 right there, pretty much half of the front straightaway. Now here comes the number 18 machine of Mullins coming off pit road right now. Will the number 29 of Will Worcester get around him? The answer is no. So Mullins out there now on fresh tires. He is currently being scored, I believe, in the 3rd position as they run, but Tyler Seville and the 231 of Larry Orn yet to pit. I'm sure we'll see Seville on pit road this time. There's the 202 of Hollingsworth getting himself up through the S's onto the long back straight off into turn number 5. Does Seville pit? Yes, he does. He is coming down pit road right now, 45 miles an hour, coming to his pit crew, Greg.
Seville on pit road coming down. Can expect 4 tires and some fuel to try to get him the rest of the way in the number 11. He was so far ahead of Larry Orn that he still led the lap, Peter. That's an impressive stat there for Tyler Seville. Doug Mullins, meanwhile, cycling through, is still out there on fresh tires right now. We'll see where he cycled through in that number 18. I think he was so far ahead of the rest of the field, he may have already cycled through in second place. And waiting for lifetime of scoring, yes, he will still be scored in second place on those fresh tires with his teammate Will Worcester right behind him. As now, it's only Larry Orn between Doug Mullins and Will Worcester and getting the lead back.
Yeah, Larry Orn, the only driver who has not come down. Actually, I take that back. Jim Foose and Tib Knott are currently on pit road. So it does look like Larry Orton is the only driver yet to come down pit road. There you see the 42 and the 41 coming down right now, 45 miles an hour to their pit crew. They're locked up in that battle for the 8th position currently. That man right there is your current race leader, as I expect to see him come down pit road this time, Greg. I'm actually surprised we didn't see more drivers perform the undercut because of just how these tires plateau, or at least tend to plateau in these 1987 machines.
Larry Orton on pit road, coming down for his pit stop, working lap number 22 of 41, just past halfway here at Watkins Glen. Tyler Seville leading the way, still on transponders. Correction, Larry Orton just crossed the line. That moves Doug Mullins into leading the race now in the number 18. Winner in Atlanta, last round, looking for win number 2 on the season. Got about a 2-second lead over his car owner, Will Borsler, right now. There he is. And then there's Steve Hollingsworth, who was one of the strongest cars in the first half, along with Tyler Seville, as Larry Orton makes it to his pit stall. 4 tires to call for the Ford Lumina. There's Doug Mullins snaking his way through down the long backstretch now.
Yeah, and one thing I'm really impressed with is just how fast these cars are. 170 miles an hour by that number 18 machine of Doug Mullins as he finally gets on the brakes off into turn number 5. Got a little bit of lap traffic right in front of him. That's the 41 of T.N.T, who has lost quite a bit of ground to the number 42 machine of Jim Foose with Hacksaw PCs on his hood of that number 42 machine. I'm sure he's very glad to be running up inside the top 10 with as little practice as he got. But folks, we are going to have a lap of silence in memoriam of Bryce Whitson here on lap number 24, the former Hendrick Motorsports aerodynamicist. So definitely let's remember him this lap. All right, folks, definitely a very tough thing for a lot of the people in the American Sim Racing Series to deal with. The 20-time winner and past series champion Bryce Whitson passing away over the past week. Thank you for joining us in that lap of silence for him. Definitely all of our condolences from 3White TV go out to the family of Bryce Whitson. I know the American Sim Racing Series is a portion of the extended family, if you will, with Bryce Whitson definitely having his hand on what the series is today. Meanwhile, up at the front, Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine has the race lead. We're looking a little bit further back. This is Tyler Seville, your pole sitter, trying to track down the 202 of Hollingsworth. Seville on slightly fresher tires in that number 11 machine. So Greg, he should be a little bit faster here.
Yeah, Seville on a couple lap fresher tires, and he's going to say hello to Hollingsworth there. This is the battle for third as he gets around him, seeing what those couple laps fresher tires is doing for that number 11. Remember, he was the pick for the favorite, or to be the favorite here this race here tonight. Had such a strong run in the early going, but has since fallen back after having that big slide earlier, and has been trying to recover since then. Done a nice job getting it back, but he's got a long way to go. 6 seconds to his teammate Doug Mullins.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, the gap between the second place number 29 machine and the third place Tyler Seville, it is closing quick, folks. Last time by, Tyler Seville about 2 seconds faster than the number 29 machine of Will Warsaw. We'll see if we can bring up the graphic between those two, because it is closing quite rapidly as they head down this long straightaway. There you can see that the number 11 machine, about a 0.7 of a second, last time by between those two. But definitely Seville on those fresher tires, quite a bit fresher tires, actually, about 4 laps fresher tires on the number 11 machine. We'll see that time difference definitely here over the next few laps as Seville continuing to close in on that number 29 machine. Will Warser also making a little bit of a mistake off into turn number 1 this past lap. Ran just a little bit wide, locked up the tires. I'm sure the tires won't be all too happy with that, as we've seen that tire management is quite important, Greg. And I got to say, Doug Mullins, under that first run, he managed his tires very, very well, very, very quick at the end of that long green flag run. And like I mentioned earlier, these race cars, as the 29 machine once again locks them up going off into turn number 1. So that's 2 laps in a row. And now all of a sudden, Tyler Seville all over the back bumper of that number 29 machine as we work our way up into turn number 2, turn number 3 right here, this left-hander, and then you got turn number 4, this long sweeping right-hander. This corner looks easy, Craig, but very easy to get the power down just a little bit too much, as Tyler Seville having a little bit of connection issues there.
Yeah, knock, Peter. The connection issues might play a role in this one, but Tyler Seville, you know he's going to wheel it as long as he possibly can. Hollingsworth now taking a peek on the outside through the carousel as they come their way down now the short stretch, and Seville going to get the preferred line on Worcester heading towards turn number 6. He's got the inside for this left-hander coming up. Worcester can slide, he's in the wall.
Worsler must have had a little bit of wheel hop there going off into turn number 6, Greg. The way that number 29 machine just kind of lurched off to the right, perhaps maybe got a little bit of the curb. We'll have to see if we can get another look at it here from high atop the blimp camera. And I got to say, that is wheel hop there, Greg, or possibly shifted down too early, one of the two. But that number 29 machine just kind of lurched off to the right, clipped the wall, and also lost a spot to the number 202 of Hollingsworth, who's now got himself back up into the top 3. Here we go, on board with the number 29 of Worsler, and you see it right there. He was definitely going straight up. Not sure if he locked up the rear brakes or got a little bit of wheel hop while braking, but definitely that car a little bit too much for the number 29 machine to handle there.
So it'll definitely be interesting to see how he recovers from this, Peter, as Hollingsworth has gotten around him as well, and he's beginning to lose track to the 11 and the 202. So what was a strong run in the early stages for Will Worsler has gone the wrong way, as now he's trying to recover. Fortunately for him, it's a long way back to Sam Maxwell, 14 seconds to be exact, between Worsler and Maxwell last time by. But the guy who's loving this right now is Doug Mullins in the number 18. Up front, winner in Atlanta, and here he is leading the way again here at Watkins Glen. And Peter, Atlanta and Watkins Glen, that's about 2 of the most unique or different races, but wow, Tyler Seville 2 seconds faster that last lap.
Yeah, I'm watching live timing and scoring, and Tyler Seville over the last 5 laps has been averaging about 0.6 of a second faster than his teammate, the number 18 of Doug Mullins. Don't look now, but Tyler Seville could catch the number 18 machine in about 7 laps if he can continue that pace. He does have 1 lap fresher tires, and at most tracks that really doesn't sound like a lot, but here at Watkins Glen with these 1987 cars where we have seen tire fall off of up to 4 seconds over a run, it does matter. And we're definitely seeing that number 11 machine. We saw him start on the pole. He had that pace. He made some big mistakes early in the run, and Greg, possibly those mistakes added up, and because of those mistakes, had worn tires. He's been a lot smoother on this run. He knows he has fresher tires. He has confidence in those 4 Goodyear tires on the race car, and sometimes having the confidence in fresher tires is all you need, as Will Warser has a big slide there coming out of turn number 7. But going back to what I was saying, you just need that confidence in the fresh tires that can kind of propel you to be smoother, not only on the throttle, but the brake and on turning. That number 11 machine right now, very, very quick. Once again, its last lap, 7/10 of a second, again faster than that number 18 machine. He is just taking chunks out of the lead.
Bill is trying to reel him in. It was not there where it was the last lap, but we'll see how he can do it this time by. There is a bit of lap traffic ahead now of the number 18 of Doug Mullins. He's coming up on Jim Foose in the number 42 to put him a lap down. So we'll see if that lap traffic does affect the race lead at all, as Tyler Seville clearly is the faster car right now, as Mullins a big slide there going into the turn, and that is not going to help his cause. As he's off in the grass, he's still fighting it. Say hello, because here comes Tyler Seville in the number 11. He is going to cut a huge chunk out of that lead with that one.
Yeah, that was almost reminiscent of what happened to the number 29 machine of Will Worcester just a little bit ago. Be curious to know if we can get a 3-wide TV replay, possibly from high atop the blimp cam, to see if possibly the number 18 machine dipped a wheel in that race car. Let's see exactly what happened here, Greg. Coming down this long straightaway off into turn number 6. Does he hit the grass? Oh, looks like he I think he might have clipped the grass on entry into turn number 6, which might have been what Will Worcester did. Couldn't quite see on that angle, but that definitely loosened up that number 18 machine. And like you said, now he's going to be able to see that bright green and black number 11 machine in his rear view mirror, as we have a car off in turn number 5. It is Jim Foose and the number 42 machine. Looks like he's able to keep it out of the wall, but that Hacksaw PC's 42 going to get back on the racetrack, fall one lap down in the 8th position currently. Let's see if we can see this one on the replay. Yeah, just got on the brakes a little bit too late. He's completely locked up that right front tire, but definitely good job there by Foose to keep it out of the tire wall.
And honestly, that's the best thing that could have happened for Doug Mullins, because he didn't have to worry about catching Foose in a bad spot there, as he was able to get around him cleanly as Foose was off track. The problem for Mullins in this case is Seville was also able to get around him before Foose was able to recover. So they both made it through there. So now it's going to be Seville and Mullins mano a mano, because it's quite a bit to the next lap traffic, which is Jason Stewart, who's about the length of the backstretch ahead of Doug Mullins. Actually a little bit more, as it's still a ways to go. And it's going to be close to see if they can get up there. So I think this one's going to be mano a mano, Mullins and Seville from here on.
10 laps to go here at Watkins Glen. What a finish we might be in line for. If you joined us on Tuesday night here for the American Sim Racing Series Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, you saw an epic finish at Daytona to close out the regular season. We had cars flipping, cars flying across the start-finish line to see the checkered flag. That was an epic race, but we might be in line for an epic finish here tonight in the Boswell's Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series, with Seville continuing to run down the 18 of Mullins. We'll have to see what the difference is at the line this time. But last lap, Seville was able to take another 7/10 of a second out of the number 18 machine. Here they are at the stripe. This time as the 202 of Hollingsworth gets around the 42 of Foose. And Greg, this time by, Mullins actually pulled out 3/10 of a second on the number 11 of Seville. So fantastic job by Mullins to kind of regroup after that big mistake that he had and extend that lead to now 1.5 seconds.
Wondering if the tires have plateaued here, Peter. We're closing in on about halfway in the run. Wondering if that's the case here. The tire advantage may be gone on the 11. Yes, it was only a lap, but on a road course, that's a lot here as opposed to, say, a track of like Texas or Charlotte, where one lap difference doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Here it does, and I'm wondering if that's the case, if the tires have plateaued, and if so, it's going to be who's the better driver now, because Mullins and Seville are pretty much even if that is the case.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that number 11 machine, we'll have to find out this lap. Perhaps last lap was just a hiccup in that number 11 machine. Maybe he got off the racetrack, but we'll have to see what the gap is at the start-finish line this time, because definitely Mullins visually looks like he's stretching it out now. This time by Mullins, a 1:16.46. That's a fantastic lap by Mullins. Meanwhile, the number 11 machine, a 1:16.8. So Mullins, again, another 0.4 of a second in that machine right there over the 11. Meanwhile, Seville continuing to pull away from Hollingsworth, last time by about a second. And Hollingsworth and Will Worsler, man, I just saw Will Worsler, huge save coming out of turn number 1. There he is coming up through the S's. It'd be interesting to see if we can get a replay of this one, because Will Worsler had his hands full going all up over the rumble strip. We'll see this one here on the replay. Locked up the brakes. That sent him wide. Hit those rumble strips on exit, and he was pointed towards the inside wall. Fantastic job. They're not plowing into that right side Armco barrier.
That was some dirt tracking on a road course, Peter. That was definitely an interesting one. Nice save by Worsler, checking in with his two teammates, Mullins and Seville, once again. Leading the way right now, top 2, and it's a long ways back to Hollingsworth. So I think this one's going to be between Mullins and Seville. They can pull away. We got a battle room for 5th now between Maxwell and Larry Orn. These two have been around each other all day, Peter.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Fantastic battle this for the 5th position. The number 98 of Maxwell has it. Larry Orn wants it. And Greg, one thing that comes to mind is Orn. Remember, he was the last car on the racetrack to come down and take tires, and he's all over the back bumper of the number 98 machine, almost making contact there into turn number 7. So Orn has fresher tires than that car in front of him. We'll have to see if he can use them to his advantage.
Ooh, that's going to help as Maxwell with a big slide into turn number 1. Orn able to get up to the bumper, but no, he slides off the track. So the advantage that he had there as Maxwell made the slip up suddenly goes right back out the window, and we're right back to where we started with them.
Yep, Larry Orn now sliding his way up through the S's right on the back bumper of Sam Maxwell. 1 lap ago now, not so much as they have a couple of car lengths between them here down the backstretch. Just 7 more laps to go for the leaders. You're not missing anything up at the front. This is the best battle on the racetrack as of right now. Orn still just trying to close in on the number 98 and Maxwell. Fantastic job there by Maxwell to kind of double apex turn number 5. Let that number 98 hacksawpcs.com machine just drift out in the center of the corner, and then was able to get it back to the apex for a straight exit to save the rear tires. There's a lot of strategy to saving tires and the lines you run around a road course. Sam Maxwell putting that into fruition here. Coming out of turn number 7, though, you see the 231. He's trying to use up those tires to get to the back bumper of the number 98 machine, as we'll have 5 laps to go next time by.
Going to be 5 to go at the line for Doug Mullins when he gets there. This is still the best battle in the 5th position. Maxwell and Orn, 5 to go at the line for Doug Mullins, who is coming out of the carousel right now. Tyler Seville was able to close back in just a little bit last time by not a huge margin, but was able to shave it down. Peter, they're coming to 5 to go. If Seville can wheel it, does he have enough time to get there?
I don't know. I'm looking at lap times and what they've been running over the last few laps. That number 11 machine just not clicking off the fast laps he's needed to right now. But is he saving his tires just for a late race charge on that number 18 machine? Took off 0.3 there in the last sector of the racetrack. That's a huge pickup by the number 11 of Seville. And the 18 of Mullins just locked up the right front a little bit into turn number 1. We've seen that prove costly for a couple of drivers here tonight. Will Seville keep his head cool and close in on the number 18? And you and I know, Greg, as soon as you have a race car behind you that's within striking distance, you start to think about that in the back of your mind. The pressure amps up, and I'm sure Doug Mullins now sweating bullets in that sliced porcupines number 18.
The heart rate in that number 18 just doubled as they go towards turn number 5. Seville was 0.7 seconds back. Both pretty solid through the carousel here. Nice job by both of them. Ooh, Mullins a little bit of a slide where Seville was able to keep it wound up there. So a little bit of a better exit by Seville there. We'll see if Mullins can come fighting back. Steve Hollingsworth has also shaved a second off into number 202. If something were to happen with these two, Hollingsworth might be able to find himself back in this before it's too late.
Seville now headed down the front stretch, just 1 second in the rear of that number 18 machine. Mullins going to come across the start-finish line once again as your race leader, as we now just have 4 more laps here at Watkins Glen. This classic configuration without the bus stop clocks in at 2.42 miles, so just under 10 miles for these drivers as they work their way up through the S's. Meanwhile, the battle for the 5th position starting to heat up once again.
That battle for 5th has been very impressive between Orn and Maxwell. Here it is again. This is onboard Maxwell looking out at Orn, who's taking a dive to the inside. He caught the curb, but he keeps it wound up. Nice job by Larry Orn there to avoid further disaster as he caught the curb and was two-wheeling for a split second there.
Yeah, this is the best battle on the racetrack as of right now. Seville has lost a little bit of ground to the number 18 of Mullins. So the 231 machine made a huge mistake going up through the S's, and just like that, what was the best battle on the racetrack looks to now be over. Let's see what happened here to Orn. Very easy to make a mistake coming up through these S's. And Greg, I think he just might have caught a little bit too much there of the curbing, upset the race car, and or just hit the bumps and ran a little bit wide. Not 100% sure. I'm not sure if he hit he might have hit the rumble strips on the right side. Did he? No, he did not. I thought that might have upset the car here going off into the left-hander, but just ran wide on exit, clipped that wall, and unfortunately for the 231 of Orn, looks like 6th place will be calling his name here tonight. Sam Maxwell now pretty much locked up the 5th position. Meanwhile, back at the front, it's ebbing and flowing. I said that Mullins had pulled another couple tenths on the number 11 machine. Well, now Seville had a fantastic first sector this lap, and it's now down to just 0.3 of a second again. We're coming to just 2 more laps to go.
2 to go at the line. Mullins leading, Seville second. Both with a nice run there through the carousel this time. They make their way towards the sweeping left-hander. On board with Tyler Seville. That is the gap between him and his teammate Doug Mullins into turn number 6. 2 to go at the line. Seville with a big slide there, but he was able to keep his foot in the gas and is able to close back in on Seville. 2 to go at the line here for Doug Mullins. Can he hold off Seville?
Is Seville sawing on the wheel? The answer is yes. He's trying to get everything he can out of that 1987 Chevy Monte Carlo as they head off into turn number 1 once again. Good job by both of those drivers not to lock up any tires. They stay calm, cool, and collected now going up through the S's. This is where we saw Larry Orn have his troubles just about a lap ago. Are they going to make it through here nice and smoothly? Yes, they do. Seville over the crest. You see him continuing to stall on the wheel. The back end kicked out just a little bit. He's able to put a little bit counter steer into it. Almost got into the grass on the left-hand side of the racetrack. Does a good job keeping out of that. But, Greg, that number 11 machine is trying to do all he can. He's now right up on the back bumper of the number 18 machine. We're coming to the white flag this time by.
Remember, Seville is still looking for that first Throwback Series victory. Mullins has one. It came last time out at Atlanta. Mullins trying to become the first repeat winner and go 2 in a row here. Seville, 2 wins in the Cup Series this year. Still looking for that first Throwback win. White flag. It's down to Mullins and Seville. They're coming through turn 7 now. They're going to see the white flag this time.
Can the number 18 machine keep a cool head? Can he see the checkered flag in 1 lap from now? But for now, the white flag is flying here over Watkins Glen International. Just 2.4 more miles around this racetrack. 7 turns for these drivers to navigate through. The 18 of Mullins still holding on to a healthy lead over the number 11 of Seville. It's up to about a second as the 18 of Mullins had a fantastic launch coming out of turn number 1. Probably the best launch we've seen out of any driver here tonight. Up through the S's, all clean and green for now. Just 3 more corners for these drivers to navigate.
They roar down the long backstretch. Can Mullins pull away? He will. He's got a nice lead. If he can get through these final 3 corners, he's going to have 2 in a row here in the Throwback Series. Seville is going to give it all he has going into turn number 5. Off of the carousel, down the straight. A little bit of a slide from Mullins. Not a whole lot. Seville able to hang with him. They make it their way towards the final left-hander. Peter, they're coming to turn 7. Mullins trying to hold on.
Mullins backed up turn number 6 there. He did what he had to do to ensure he got through turn number 6 nice and cleanly, into turn number 7 and out onto the front straightaway. Doug Mullins will go back-to-back in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series and pick up win number 2 in his American Sim Racing Series career. Fantastic job by Mullins to hold off his teammate, the number 11 of Seville. Your series points leader, though, the 202 of Hollingsworth, will pick up 3rd position. Second place in points, that man right there of Will Worsler will pick up the 4th position right in front of the number 42 of Jim Foose, who finds himself 1 lap down. So the 29 will pick up that position. And here comes Sam Maxwell in the number 98 machine. He's still out there on the racetrack. He's just now picking up the checkered flag in the 5th position to round out your top 5. Larry Orn picks up 6th. And then 7th position is going to fall to Jason Stewart, the last car on the lead lap. He's still out there around the racetrack, is up in turn number 1. We got the Will Worsler Racing teammates doing a little bit of celebratory donuts, I'm sure, in memoriam of Bryce Whitson. All these drivers racing with a heavy heart here tonight. With the recent passing of Bryce Whitson, the former series champion, 20-time winner here in the American Sim Racing Series, and Jason Stewart will flash across the start-finish line. I believe he is the last driver to work his way across the start-finish line, so that will basically do it for all the cars out there on the racetrack except for these 3, because they're just continuing to burn it down in turn number 1 here. Greg, very impressive. A lot of smoke here for Mr. Producer's graphics card to render.
Yeah, a lot of smoke going on, but that's 3 in a row for Will Worsler Racing here in the Throwback Series. No doubt they're happy with that one. A 1-2-4 for Will Worsler Racing, and Doug Mullins, win number 2 on the season, the first repeat winner in Throwback Series competition. Peter, I gotta say, WWR is looking very, very strong in this series.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But Stephen Hollingsworth in the 202 machine, he is also proving very hard to beat here, once again getting a podium here tonight. So we do have 6 races in the books now here in the Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. We have 5 races left, and the next one is going to be Darlington. It'll be the Too Tough to Tame race at Darlington. Very much looking forward to that one, because Darlington always puts on a good show in round number 7. But we're going to step away here for just a brief moment. We're going to line up some interviews. We do have some people in the chat saying congrats to Will Worsler Racing, including AJ Digby, as Jason Stewart decides to just forget to use the brakes off there in start number 1, somewhat reminiscent of Jimmy Johnson back in the day. But we're going to step away here for just a brief moment. We'll be right back with those interviews.
Experience the slice difference.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Life happens everywhere. like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and servpro.com.
All right, folks, welcome back to Watkins Glen International, where tonight's 41-lap race has come to its conclusion. The Bryce Whitson Memorial race here tonight at Watkins Glen. But we do have interviews lined up with the top three, including the 202 machine of Stephen Hollingsworth, and I believe that Mr. Greg Rentz has caught up with him.
Yeah, Stephen Hollingsworth, Greg Rentz, 3ITV, you got a copy.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Stephen, another great run for you here, and we were talking about it in the press box. We weren't sure what the road course was going to throw for some of these drivers here in this style of car, but man, much like the rest of the season, you proved that you can adapt to it very well here.
Yeah, I love this track. I was in town this week, and I got some seat time with this car and track combo, so it kind of helped out a little bit. I did have a mistake when I was coming to go pit, but other than that, yeah, I love the Glen. I think it's a great track, and it seems to be these top four guys, these Tyler, Doug, and Will. Seems like we're going to be battling for the rest of the season here.
Well, Stephen, speaking of battling and just guys you're going to be running with, a lot of these guys run in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, and we were talking about it. The way you have run, we think that you have really turned a lot of heads. Is that something you're thinking about possibly for 2021, is perhaps trying to apply for the PC Series?
It all depends on my schedule and my work and stuff. This series just seems to fit in perfect. I hope next season they bring the series back and they don't change the date, because it works out perfect for me. But I was hoping a lot of those guys like Greg Evans and what's his name, Bigby or Rigby or something. They seemed fast. I was watching Tuesday just to see who was fast in that league, and I was hoping they would come down and race these cars so I can see how I competed with them. But they didn't show up. So maybe one day we'll be able to compete.
Well, we'll have to campaign for perhaps some more of the Hacksaw PC's drivers to make a run here. But, Stephen, another great run here tonight at the Watkins Glen. And again, like we mentioned, you've been able to compete in just about every form of racing. You said you love the Glen, but do you have a specific track or style of track, I should say, that you prefer over the rest, as in like short track, intermediate, road course, super speedway? Which one's your favorite?
Man, that's a good question. I like the super speedways just because of the adrenaline and the concentration it takes to run up front and stay up front. But the short tracks seem to be, if you get a good group of people and that race clean and take care of their equipment, the short tracks really bring out a lot of good racing. So I'd probably lean more toward the short tracks. No specific track though. Maybe Five Flags or Iowa or IRP, something like that.
Ooh, that's an idea. Maybe run these things at Five Flags next year. We'll have to
Yeah.
talk to the powers that be at that one. But another successful run for you. Another podium here in the this is the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson's Thursday Night Throwback Series. Another chance for you to thank the guys who got you here. So who you got?
Yeah, I just like thank you guys, Carlos, Greg, Peter, Jim, for adminning and broadcasting and stuff like that. This is I look forward to Thursday night this afternoon. Other than that, Folgers, and yeah, I'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
All right, we'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Stephen Hollingsworth, another podium. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And I believe Peter has caught up with our second place finisher, once again knocking on the door, but another podium for Tyler Seville.
Yeah, I have caught up with the number 11 of Tyler Seville, yet to go to victory lane this season in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. But Tyler, you started on the pole here tonight, and really, if it wasn't for a couple of mistakes there in that first run that might have burned off your tires just a little bit, you could have been in victory lane here tonight. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I was worried at the start of the race because I knew that I could lay down a hot lap, but it's so hard to get anything consistent here. I wasn't sure how I was going to be on the long run. And so I was able to pit a little bit later than Doug at the end there, and I was able to run him down, but I just didn't have anything for him there at the end.
Yeah, definitely. As a person who's driven a lot of road courses myself, sometimes when you have fresher tires in the cars around you, it just gives you that little bit more confidence. You know that you're going to be statistically faster than they are, and it allows you to lean on the brakes, hit your marks, and really focus, get your head down. And like they say, if you can see a car out in front of you, it's like dangling a carrot in front of a horse or something like that. So, tell us a little bit how that might have affected your run here tonight, especially in the closing stages.
Yeah, I knew there with about 10 to go that I was gaining on Doug ever so slightly, and I knew I had those fresh tires. So like you said, you have a little bit extra to lean on there if you need to. And then I just kept gaining, and there was about 5 to go. He pulled me a little bit. Then I don't know if he made a couple of errors on his end, but I was able to run him back down. And if I was a little bit closer, I was going to try to send it in the last 2 turns there on that last lap, at least try to get side by side coming to the checkered flag. But it just wasn't meant to be tonight.
Well, I'll tell you what, definitely a strong run and fantastic lap in qualifying in that number 11 machine to lay down the only, I think, 1 minute 12 that we saw in the qualifying session. I mean, fantastic job there. But of course, in 2 weeks from now, we got the Too Tough to Tame 100 at Darlington Raceway. What are your thoughts about Darlington?
I'm nervous just because it seems if you scrape the wall with these cars, it kind of just grabs a hold of you. But I feel pretty confident that I was able to have a strong run tonight. Hopefully that'll carry over into the next race there at Darlington.
All right. Well, before we let you go, got any shout-outs or comments?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my team. I would not be as good of a road course racer as I am without everybody on Will Worsler Racing, and it was awesome to get a 1-2 finish for those two cool slice-looking paint schemes that Jordan Berry painted. They looked awesome on the track tonight. Yeah,
absolutely. A great paint scheme, and very, very cool to see these 1987 cars out there on the racetrack. But we will see you back here in Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series in 2 weeks from now.
Right, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, well, that is going to do it for our second place finisher here tonight. But I do believe Mr. Greg Rentz has made it down to victory lane. And I'll tell you what, Greg, this race used to be sponsored by Vineyards up in northern New York. So maybe there's a little bit of wine being thrown down there with the number 18 of Doug Mullins.
Oh, gotcha. Well, we'll see. If he's down here in victory lane, Doug Mullins, Greg Rentz, 3YTV, got a copy.
What's up, guys?
Hey, man, I'm going to ask you the same question. 2 in a row for you here. You really seem to have a handle on these things.
I love these cars. I do. Tonight, honestly, I got into practice, and I ran a little bit of practice last week, but I hadn't got to practice in them as much as I wanted to. And I got in there, and I was, 2.5 seconds slower than Tyler. And I was like, holy smokes. And with these things gearbox, you can't just blip the throttle with no clutch and whatnot. So the only heel toe action that I've really practiced with is an MX-5. And I got about 30 minutes of practice because I raced with all 3 pedals, and it was pretty tough there in the first half of the race. There was a couple times I lock brakes up because usually I'm braking with my left foot, and this, I'm switching between my left foot and my right foot. And these things are just so finicky trying to get it in gear. And it was a handful. I love it, though. I think it's so fun.
Well, Doug, you just won on 2 very, very different style of racetrack with Atlanta 2 weeks ago and now here tonight at Watkins Glen. I asked Stephen Hollingsworth this question earlier because he ran very well at both tracks. I'll ask you the same question. When it comes to this style of car, do you have a specific type of track that you like as an intermediate track such as Atlanta, a road course such as tonight, or a super speedway, or even a short track? Do you have a specific track style that you like?
Definitely not a super speedway. I mean, I missed the Super Speedway ASRS race, but I've done a couple races just on my own, and there's so much out of your hands. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the 1.5 D-shaped ovals, but I've only raced them with the A car, and I'm so inexperienced that it's a lot harder for me to catch on to them, it seems. So but with these cars, it's a little bit different because you can correct yourself in different ways than you do with a car with a lot of downforce, and between cracking the throttle, getting on the brakes, just a little steering angle, whatever it is. And so I don't know the answer to that question. If you would have asked me that in practice, I would have said definitely not a road course. After this, I think that was pretty fun. I'm definitely wanting to do another road course, but yeah, I mean, I don't really know. Really anything that's just not wide open.
All right, well, Doug, we are going to another entirely different form of track next time out with the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Throwback Series, because next up, Darlington, a track that's really unlike any other track, and we're going to get a preview of it Tuesday night here on 3YTV in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. But are you looking forward to a couple trips here to Darlington coming up?
Yeah, for sure. I've only been on Darlington for about, I don't know, maybe 15 laps. Last season, I got in an early wreck, and so I don't have a whole lot of experience there. But I think with these cars specifically, it's going to be very, very fun. I think you're going to see people with a tore up right side of their car that are still fast and whatnot. I think it's going to be really fun. I think it's going to be awesome.
All right, well, Doug, 2 wins in a row in the Throwback Series, and you had a podium on Tuesday night in Daytona. So another chance to thank the people who got you here. Who's your sponsors?
Yeah, Slice Boots Bar, as always. Looking forward to possibly running with them again next year. I think they're gonna re-up on some of their sponsorship. Sounds like. My team, Tyler and Will. If I would have just jumped into this track and not had them say, "Hey, look for this, look for this, look for this," there's a good chance that I wreck in the early stages of the race. Jim, Sam, I'm so happy that they did this series. I hope it doesn't go away. I hope it grows. I don't understand why people aren't running in it, because people complain about the same things for the A car with just how they drive, and I mean, these are the answer. You guys can't wait to watch the broadcast. And all our fans out there that are watching, when they can and whatnot. It makes it kind of cool.
All right, well, Doug, another finish. And I think now we're going to have to campaign to get some more Cup drivers in the series, because Stephen Hollingsworth said the same thing. But another win for you. Congratulations.
Appreciate it, guys.
All right, and before we move into our final results of this one, we had a popular request in the chat. I believe Peter Short has made his way down and caught up with the driver of the Ford Lumina. I believe Peter is caught up with Larry Orn.
I have caught up with Larry Orn. And Larry, you got people in the chat calling for this interview for like the past 10 minutes. So better be a good one. Tell us a little bit about your night in that number 231 machine. It was a good battle with you and the number 98 machine until right up there at the end in the S's.
Yeah, it was a really tough race for basically 4th, 5th, and 6th the whole time. I was running, I think, 5th most of the first half of the race, and I waited too long to pit. I was trying to get that one lap lead, and that put me behind Sam, and so I spent basically the whole second half trying to catch up to him on new tires, and I was just pushing, and I was trying to get around him, and I was trying to not get into him, although I almost did a couple times. But going through the S's, it was slippery as hell, and I just lost it and hit the wall and tried to keep it pointed straight, and still ended up 6th. But it was a tough one. I'm not the best at road courses, but it was it's a fun track. It's very high speed. I think you all said in the broadcast the other day, this is a super speedway of road courses, and it really is. and you're just shifting so much, just trying to keep it on the asphalt. It's tough.
I mean, absolutely. You come here, it's out of the element for some drivers who pretty much primarily race ovals. And some people don't realize just how different it is to get on the brake, get the car woed down, especially with these 1987s cars. I mentioned it early in the race that these cars are not very forgiving at all. If you make the slightest mistake, you end up in the wall or off the track or something like that. So all in all, fantastic job to bring it home in 6, just 37 seconds behind the race leader.
Yeah, congrats to those guys in the top 4, man. They were just on a different level. I don't know what they were doing, but from the start, they just took off like a rocket ship, and I was just hoping to get a top 5. But hey, I love these cars. They drive like a high-speed boat going through these turns, but it's a blast.
Well, you're going to be a high-speed boat in 2 weeks from now because we're going to Darlington, a track that is too tough to tame. So you go from a road course that's quite difficult to tame to the track that is dubbed too tough to tame. What are your thoughts about going to Darlington in these boats?
Yeah, it's a really unique track. As you know, it's shaped kind of like an egg, and you really got to finesse. I was talking with some of the guys right before I got in the booth here, and I think just about everybody is going to at least scrape the wall and get a Darlington stripe once or twice throughout it. And, they ran the officials here a few weeks ago at Darlington, and I did pretty well. So hoping I can put together a good race, and if I have a little bit of luck and everything goes right, get up towards the front.
Well, I know I'm looking forward to that race. Sounds like you are too. 2 weeks from now, right here on 3 Wide TV, same place, same time. But Larry, we got people in the chat who've been calling for this interview. We got Jason, we got Alexander in the chat. Make sure if you're in the chat, give us a shout right now. But Larry, I'm sure you got to give them a shout out as well.
Yeah, I want to give a big shout out to my boys in West by God, Virginia. I think they've had a few adult beverages tonight cheering me on. So, but congrats to the guys, running up front, and just happy to come home 6 and have the support.
Nonetheless, fantastic run. We'll see if you can back that up 2 weeks from now. Best of luck there, Larry.
Hey, thanks so much, guys.
All right, well, that is going to do it for our post-race interviews. Let's see if we can dial up those post-race results. Doug Mullins picking up his 2nd win of the season right up there at the top of the screen. Fantastic job. Also led the most laps here tonight, just under half the amount of laps here tonight. So Mullins leading 20 laps, Seville coming home in 2nd, and the number 11 machine. We saw him do a valiant effort to try and run down the number 18. Stephen Hollingsworth coming home in 30 comes into tonight as the points leader. Will just extend that points lead over the number 29 of Will Worcer by a point. Will Worcer comes home in 4th. Sam Maxwell rounds out the top 5. Great job by Maxwell to hold on to that spot. Larry Orn comes home 6th. We just talked to him. Make sure you give us a shout in the chat for that. Looks like we already got a couple people in the chat. Alexander saying, thanks for the interview. Congrats to the winners. Keep the faith. And Lance also saying, go Larry, great run. In the 7th position, we have the number 1 of Jason Stewart. Jim Foose had basically no practice time, Greg, but still comes away with an 8th place finish and was fairly competitive. Had great racing there with Tim Knott in the middle portion of the race. Knott did lose out that spot to the number 42 of Jim Foose and comes home in 9th. The last finisher, Lee Staples, was the first driver not to finish here tonight. He retired from the race around lap number 21. Bradley and Clarence Bonner, the 2 other drivers here to start and also not finishing in the 11th and 12th positions in the 01 and the number 99 machines. Edward Bray and Howard Wildrick did not start here tonight. But Greg, 2 weeks from now we go to Darlington. What are your thoughts about going to that race?
Oh, I'm hoping we get a few of our other ASRS drivers in that one, because Darlington and these cars, that just screams what the series is all about. It's about throwing it back, and I think that race is going to be the epitome of throwback. I am so excited to see that. Hey, who knows? We've got throwback race coming up here at the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series. Maybe we'll see a couple of other drivers go with some new throwback schemes for that one. I mean, Larry Orn's got a throwback scheme all year. Stephen Hollingsworth's got one all year. Who knows? You might see a couple other drivers embrace the spirit and go with some 87 paint schemes, like straight up 1987 schemes. You don't know. The only way you're going to find out is to tune in 2 weeks.
Absolutely. But until then, of course, Tuesday night, we got the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series playoffs. Make sure you join us for that here on 3Y TV. Also, tomorrow, we have the NSRA Simbox 250. If you're interested in straight up iRacing and watching what we have here tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern, right here. We got 250 laps around the Daytona International Speedways with the trucks. So we have a lot of action lined up for you over the next couple of weeks until we see you again here in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. But for myself, Peter Short, Greg Rentz, and Carlos Acosta, we bid each and every one of you a good evening, good day, whatever the time may be, wherever you are. If you're watching this on VOD, give us a shout. Give us a comment in the chat. But we will see you in a couple weeks' time here, and have a good night. See ya!